Alright guys, and welcome back to another tutorial from Teach Me Programming about creating a basic shoutbox using PHP. This is part 2 of the tutorial. If you haven't watched part 1, you should go and watch it. I'll put a link down in the description. Here you have it, the database. And by the start I changed to Windows because I didn't like the recording program I had in Mac. I like this one better. It's the same because HTML is a cross-platform language and PHP is a server-side language, so you don't have to worry about anything. And I'm gonna be using Sublime Text as well. It's all the same. Okay, let's get into it. So now we have our database, and now we can go ahead and create our files. Because I'm using exam for Windows, I should put the files in the htdocs. I'd have a file created for that, I believe. Yeah, shout. Images, I'll put a link to them in the description. And now we're gonna need Sublime Text. We're gonna need to create 3 files. Oh damn. Just a second, there was a project I'm working on. The hell? Sorry. Oh, I should select open folder. Yep, this one. Alright, now I have a new folder. Look at the images. So let's make a new file. We're gonna need file, save that. We're gonna need an index. Let's save it in our shout directory. We're gonna need an index because if you're running a server, index is the first thing that the server is gonna look at by default. That's by default. Okay, and let's make another file for the style, and let's call it style.css, and let's create the database connection file, and we're gonna call it db.php. Alright, now we have our files, as you can see, our files, and then the images. Just a sec. Is there a way to? Yeah, not right. Okay. So let's set up our database connection details. If we go here, can type in PHP. I advise everyone who's starting to use Sublime Text because it's the best text editor out there. It got everything you need, even Zen coding. So let's get a variable for host, and in this case our host is localhost. Sorry, yeah. And let's get another variable for username. That's the username for our database, and in my case it's root. In your case it could be different if you're using a web server. If you're using exam, it's gonna be always, I think it's always root, I'm not quite sure. And let's create a string for password. Sorry, but yeah, and the password in my case is nothing because I didn't set it up. But if you're using web host or a website to host your website, yeah, that's wrong. If you're hosting your website, they will always give you a password because it's important. and the database name is gonna be, our database name is Shouts. It's Shouts, and let's end this. Alright, so now we have our database connection file. Save it, Control S to save. And now let's start working in the index.php file. So if we go here, just do that real quick. Doc type HTML public and .0 tr yeah, en for English. Let's end that. Okay, now let's make our HTML. See, that's why I like. That's yeah. Oh, sorry. That's why I like Sublime Text with Zinc coding. And for title, let's put Shoutbox. Okay. And for our meta information, it's gonna be CARS-TTF8. Alright, and let's link our style sheet. It's called style.css. Oh, sorry, style.css. And now we finish with the head, and let's go to the body. In the body, let's create a div with ID. I believe ID is dot. Oh, sorry, no, wrong one. ID. Okay. So I'm using Zinc coding here because it's fast. I mean, instead of writing all this information like this, div and then ID equal container, and then closing it, I could just use Zinc coding like this: div ID container, and there here you have it. So in the container thing, let's create an h1 for header, and let's call this Shoutbox, and you can change that to anything you want. For example, your website, your whatever you're using. Just hold on a second, guys. Okay, sorry about that. Second. Yeah, sorry about that, but I had to take a call. Okay. Shit. Alright. Now it's create a div with the ID of box top. This is gonna be for top, and let's get another div with the ID of. Actually, we could use encoding div ID box top plus div ID content, and there we go. Okay, now let's save that and let's start establishing our connections. Let's connect to our database. So we're gonna enter PHP. We can create a new variable called self. I'm gonna explain everything in a moment, just a second. Oh, shit. IP address. I believe that should be in capital. Yeah, I think should use this. Okay. So I'm having difficulty with my touchpad. Now we need to include our database connection file, or whatever you called it, and we call it db.php, and then let's use the PHP function to connect. Or die. Or die. This is for, because if it didn't connect, we're gonna have an error. So and this is the message that's gonna show to the if it didn't connect probably. It's gonna show this message. You can change it to whatever you want. Okay, now let's select our database. Now I'm gonna explain everything when I finish this, so it's easier. MySQL select DB. So just check something. Yep, DB. Or die. I'm just gonna copy that because there's no point of typing it up again. Okay, so let's explain this bit of code. The first so let's explain this bit of code. Okay, so the first line number 17 and line number 18 uses a built-in PHP function to get the name of this file, and the other line to get the visitor's IP address. This one to get the name of the file, the file we're using right now, and this one to get the visitor IP address. And we'll be using the two variables later in the tutorial. And the include function is to include the database file that we created right here. You could create with this in here, but it's always a good practice to do this. So if you later on change your database or change your web host, you can easily just come here and change your settings. Okay, and then the connect function is stores a function to use our database details in order to establish a connection with the database server. If it can't connect, it will display an error message and stop the rest of the page loading using die. And the message is going to be this one: unable to connect to the database at this time. And this function here is MySQL select database. It's a built-in PHP function. It selects the database from your host. So this one's gonna connect to your host, local host, and this one's gonna select the database in your host. That's called, the name is database, and it's gonna use the function connect here to connect, or die, and it's gonna stop the page from loading, and it's gonna give us this error. Alright guys, this is the end of tutorial of part 2 of the tutorial. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be releasing part 3 very soon. And don't forget to like if you liked it, and subscribe so you always get everything. And if you have any questions, put them down in the comments or on my Facebook page, and see you later. Take care. Yeah, don't forget to just save it.